So the threats to the grid and to the lives of 350 million Americans are completely real and in some sense imminent. Like we know this is going to happen at
Right.
this point. So the federal response hardening the grid changed when Biden got elected?
Yeah, and this is what is really hard to accept. And it's very similar actually to what happened with the border wall, which is here you have two policies, the EMP executive order that President Trump was the first president to ever direct all parts of government to work together to be sure that the American people were protected from intentional EMP attack after decades of knowing that our primary adversaries were all considering it, training for it, had weapons programs designed to do this. And by the way, I mean, before we get to Biden, the primary delivery mechanism in all of those tests was a high altitude balloon. When we then have China, a primary adversary who we know have talked in their training sessions and their training manuals about using high altitude balloons to deliver this kind of an EMP device and have done tests where it's the same exact payload as the high altitude balloons that were recovered. And then you have Russia. I'm sure you remember last year, Washington worked itself into quite a justified, in my opinion, state about, the quote unquote space nuke, right? Putting a nuclear weapon into orbit on a satellite. And at the time, the media made it out like this was maybe a danger. And even if it was a danger, it was only a danger to other satellites, right? And it would get in the way of your car's GPS. And, maybe it would be problematic for the military. And so we should pay attention to it. But they definitely downplayed its impact on anyone on the ground, right? And yet we know from past Russian trials and the SA-3 satellite that the North Koreans sent over, that this kind of delivery is the exact same setup as an anti-satellite weapon. You put a nuclear weapon on a satellite headed up from the south where we have virtually no detection. And you don't even get the 22 minutes that you would get with a solar flare. It just comes completely out of the blue and there's no preparation whatsoever.